The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the wonderful world of wellness with Dr. Andy Mencia. This medical program heard from 7 to 7:30 each Saturday right here on WSBR 740 AM is brought to you by the Adult and Geriatric Center under the medical direction of geriatrician Dr. Andy Mencia. That's right. We have the most enthusiastic people here this morning, as usual. Dr. Mencia.
We're so lucky this week. We got so much rain, and the weather now cooled down.
I don't know that was so lucky. I got caught in a lot of rainstorms driving.
We need the water.
Yeah, I know we do. I understand that. While that was happening, I took out all my plants and put them outside.
So I'm always surprising you, right?
I know, you're always surprising me. But I was very surprised this morning. Who's your guest? I know it.
Dr. Steve Corman.
This is getting difficult for me with all these handsome men every Saturday morning. You know, I got to get all dressed up here.
Your husband is going to say, I think I got to get you off that show.
No. It just makes it more exciting for him. So now I come home all charged up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And the interesting thing is what you told me, what he specializes in. I can hardly say it. So exciting.
I'm so lucky. I don't get anything. God gives me the best of the best.
Oh, yes.
And, I told you about Nicole Andrews, the dietitian that just joined the group. And now Steve Corman joining the group is like a godsend to me because you know how I believe in traditional medicine, marrying the holistic approach of medical care. And unfortunately, a lot of us that believe in holistic medicine, Steve, as you well know, they just do holistic and they don't want to touch traditional, or vice versa. There are people that say traditional, don't talk to me about hormone replacement or supplement replacement. Don't talk to me about that because I only prescribe medication. And I think, most people are now looking for the best of the best. From the hormonal point of view, what kind of hormones should I be taking? And at the same time, can you treat me with traditional medicine? So, Steve, give me a little bit of your background so that our audience can learn about you.
Well, I'm a board-certified internal medicine doctor, and I was trained in Chicago, and part of my training was at Cook County Hospital. So I was lucky enough to get to see, a lot of unusual conditions and endocrine diseases that a lot of people haven't seen. So I was very blessed in that sense.
But Steve, and when you first came in and Dr. Mencia said we're going to talk about hormone replacement, that was not a subject 10 years ago even. It's amazing, isn't it, how it's grown?
Yeah. It's only taken me 10 years to get good at it. So it's really changed a lot just in the last few years because so many things have changed and so much more new information has come out about the best protocols and the best ways to treat women and men.
And Dr. Mencia, when you have patients, do you check their hormones? How do you even know they need hormone replacement?
Well, the first thing to do is to be able to talk to the patient before you even check anything. Lots of time by getting a good history on the patient, you will get the information. But you have to be geared. If you have no intention of doing holistic approach or hormone replacement or anything like that, most doctors out there are not going to ask you the right question. They won't ask you about your sexual intercourse. Is that painful? They won't ask you, are you having problem with your urine? Are you having incontinence? They won't ask you, can you perform when you are playing golf or when you are playing cards out there? Can you perform the same way like you were doing 15, 20 years ago? And if the answer to all of those questions are no, you need to see Steve Corman or somebody like him that can help you at least then go in and look at the blood test to see what hormones is off balance. And then just a little twitching on the hormone, this man can bring you back 20 years in your performance. In anything, not only in bed, but in the golf field, whatever you do out there, in your brain. Isn't that true, Steve? With regard to the memory and the alertness when you have your hormones are off balance.
That's absolutely true. The symptoms that men get are a lot of times are loss of focus, depression, loss of vigor, just don't seem like they're on top of their game anymore. In business, in golf, in whatever. Not to mention, they can have erectile dysfunction from that. In ladies, it's usually a little bit different. Usually in ladies, it's just they don't feel as good as they used to. They may have, dryness. They may have sexual problems. They
don't have desire to have sex.
And they may not have any desire whatsoever.
But I have to tell you, before we really knew about hormone replacement, people just said, well, it comes with age. I'm just getting old.
Of course. A lot of things was blamed to age.
You don't believe that, do you?
No, and the worst thing is when people go out there and you just take Viagra to solve your problem. That is not a solution. That's a bandage to your problem. It can be more harmful than beneficial to the person. Steve, tell me, let's go to the beginning. I mean, something must have gone someplace, and I think it was in Russia where this whole thing took place. Where did this hormone replacement thing come from?
Well, I think it was in the early 20s that testosterone was isolated as a component, and that was the first one that was really studied. And after that, the Soviet Union athletes used anabolic steroids, which we don't really recommend at all because there's a lot of side effects because they're not natural. But the effects were really studied, and that's how it was found out.
So by not being natural, you're saying like they are produced in a lab, synthetically produced in a lab, so it's not the natural hormone. The natural hormone, what do we call them?
Well, the natural hormones are bioidentical. They're the same thing that God gave you. And
right.
when you start talking about hormones, you have to remember they were put in your bloodstream, by God, and they're supposed to be there. They're not optional. They are supposed to be there. So there's nothing unnatural about replacing your hormones. So you're just replacing
your own, whatever you're missing of your own hormone that your body's supposed to be producing, just replacing. It's the same thing that we do to people when their thyroid is sluggish.
Absolutely.
We just give them a little thyroid medication. You can do synthetic thyroid or you can do natural thyroid replacement.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, very interesting.
It's sort of like diabetes. Diabetes is basically the lack of the insulin hormone. Insulin is a hormone. People forget that sometimes. And if you don't replace that, what happens? You end up as a diabetic and you probably die.
Right.
A lot of the ones we treat aren't that serious, but a lot of people, say they wish they were dead because they feel terrible until they get on a good treatment program.
And, it's for those of you that are diabetic, it's important that you go back and remember when you first was diagnosed. A lot of diabetic patients. I have one of my patients. He's like 7 to 200 and
7 feet 2 inches.
Right. 280 something pounds. And he came to me and he was like 190. The guy had lost so much weight. He looked like a skeleton. And I say, what happened to you? He said, I don't know, doctor. And he was a hefty guy. He used to do signs and stuff like that. Hefty guy, young guy. And we checked his sugar was over 600. And the moment we started treating him and replacing this hormone, he went back to normal.
So now we are switching over to hormone replacement for. I mean, that's a different kind of a hormone for diabetes.
Exactly.
This is called,
that's the extreme.
What's the other hormone replacement? Sexual? What do we call your hormone replacement?
Well, some doctors call it anti-aging.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah.
What do you
kind of prefer
what
the term, longevity.
Okay,
longevity.
I like that too,
that.
longevity. Okay, so this is for longevity. So you are saying then, as I get this, that people don't really have to feel badly as they're aging if they just keep their hormones in a stable condition.
Well, that's one of the main factors.
And so, Steve, you are now at Dr. Mencia's wonderful practice, where everybody knows is the Adult and Geriatric Medical Center over there on East Commercial Boulevard. I'm going to give you a phone number because you probably will want to make an appointment with Dr. Mencia, and if you know you need hormone replacement, you can just call and ask for Dr. Coleman, but it's 954-489-1345. That's 954-489-1345. You know, folks, we do this show intentionally to educate you. And if you're feeling bad and you're sitting at home and you're just listening to the show, take action. That's what's going to, that's the problem. A lot of people hear it, they like it, but they don't take action.
And the good thing with, watching Dr. Coleman at work is that as an internist, he will examine you. He will do a full examination. You are not going to somebody out there that just read a book about hormone replacement therapy. You are going through a true physician that's going to examine you. He's going to listen to you. Whatever blood tests you need, he's going to do them for you. Okay, so you don't have to see me to see him to get hormone replacement therapy. You are getting me and him in him, So you can call the number and ask for an appointment directly with him and get your hormone evaluation. And if you need an internist, then he also can be your man for that.
And maybe it's time for me to tell everybody that I've been on hormone replacement. When you walked in, the first thing I said, I'm on testosterone and estrogen replacement, and it really does make a difference.
How do you feel?
Well, I've always felt good.
She always had that energy.
Yes, I've always felt good, but certain parts of my body have had some little problems, and that's what's feeling better. I mean, I didn't lose my energy, I mean, any of that, and I've always been interested in sex. It's just, but unfortunately, vaginal dryness and other kinds of things, and a little bit of stress and incontinence, a lot of things you talked about, I've been faced with, but now that I'm on this, and it's just a minimal amount, and it really has made a great difference. So I'm glad you're here today to tell everybody. And I think, I usually don't talk about this, but I always talk about things when I think it's going to help other people. So for those of you ladies, I know a lot of you are shaking your head. Whether you're married or not, I don't think that makes a difference either, right?
No difference, right? Absolutely.
Because you still should be, there are other things you can do too. We've talked about this on the show also. But the point is, if it's going to make you feel better, just want to replace what you were supposed to have. That's really what you're saying, right?
That's exactly right. The important points to remember are there is hope. And don't ever feel like there's nothing that can be done, because there's always something that can be done to help whatever condition you have. You just have to get with the right physicians who actually want to try to help you figure out the problem and will go the extra mile, find out what the problem is, and then start treating it.
And Dr. Mencia, you talked about Suzanne Summers in her book. She's really come out very strong for bioidentical versus the other, right?
Absolutely, and she's right on track.
And that bioidentical, and you first find out what their needs are. Explain again bioidentical, either one of you, however you want to do it. It's still confusing to me.
Well, the hormone that was originally put into your bloodstream, that's the definition of a hormone, it's a necessary substance that the body produces that is excreted into your bloodstream. It's not optional. They're supposed to be there. God gave them to you. So when we talk about hormone replacement, in the old days it was, Provera and Premarin, right? Well, Premarin actually is
from a horse.
The urine.
That's the one from the horse.
Comes from the urine of pregnant mares. Premarin.
Right.
Not natural, because you're not a horse.
Right.
So now we want to replace those hormones with the thing that God gave you, which is real estrogen, real progesterone, not a synthetic, not a fake.
The thing with the synthetic, or the side effect we confronted, there was a lot of controversy with the synthetic hormones and a lot of those things. With the natural, at least we feel more comfortable, working with the patient. But one thing that Steve's a little bit shy. I have to give him credit to this guy. One thing is, a lot of people that have hormone imbalance, they come in and they go and see somebody else that don't believe in hormone replacement like he does. And you go in and you say, well, I'm sort of sad. I'm losing my concentration. I can't sleep. I have no energy to go and go dancing with my friends. And they treat you for depression. Or they will treat you for Alzheimer. And they start bombarding you with all kind of medication that you really don't need. And then when you come and see this man, he will get you off from that stuff.
Fantastic.
But in order to get you off, he had to take care of the root of the problem, which is, what hormones are off. Let's put those things back on there, and then move you off from the medication. So he can prevent by replacing what you need, prevent you from taking medication that basically you really don't need because you're not actually depressed.
Well, Dr. Coleman, does it mean, so just with blood tests, you can really tell what people are deficient in?
Well, the main thing is the history and the physical, and then we follow that up with the blood tests. And the other thing that I do, and it does kind of depend on how much the patient can afford to spend, because we're always, concerned about not, charging too much for everything. We will do a urine test, a 24-hour urine test, which is the gold standard, really, when you get down to it, as far as what's actually happening with the breakdown products of all your hormones. Mm. This is exactly the same way the Olympic Committee does it, if they're testing you for people that are doing doping and things like that, with the various performance-enhancing substances. So that is considered the state-of-the-art with the blood tests. And
so when you said a 24-hour, in other words, every time you have to urinate, you urinate in a container so that you can examine it.
Just for one day.
Interesting.
On the weekend.
And it is in the urine, that's the real key.
It is.
And so then you're able to figure out what they need, and then you start to prescribe that
Well, once we look at the entire blood panel, the history and the physical, and especially the physical exam, you really have to see what the physical signs are, because almost every disease can be picked up by a careful physical examination.
So, for instance, what would you find?
Well, you definitely want to check the thyroid to make sure there's no lumps or bumps on it, make sure it's not enlarged, make sure that it's normal, make sure there are no masses anywhere in the body. We usually do a breast exam to make sure that, there's no lumps or bumps in the breast. Pap smear, check the integrity of the mucosa, make sure everything looks healthy. If it doesn't look healthy, then you need hormone replacement in that case.
Well, this is a new topic. I mean, this is a wonderful topic for us to do this with, isn't it?
So many people out there that the doctor don't even talk to you about these things, and same thing with erectile dysfunction in men. This applies to both men and women. And he see both men and women. Day in and day out with hormone imbalance, and it's beautiful to see them come back and how they feel so energetic. I don't need a cane anymore, I don't need this medication.
It's amazing you're telling me this. I always thought that hormone replacement would be good for things that are sexual or their body with muscle. I never knew that it would affect all these things you're telling me. I'm sitting here with my mouth open.
There's a lot more to it, and what I usually see is on the 6-week follow-up after we get things started, they usually come back with a very big smile, both men and women.
Amazing. Well, Dr. Mencia, not that you're an older person, but I think you're a little bit older than Dr. Coleman.
A little bit, yeah.
When you went to medical school, did they tell you? Did they talk about this? Was hormone replacement discussed or?
No, at all. When growing up in Hawaii, of course, we do a lot of natural treatment. I grew up with acupressure, acupuncture. So it was an easy door for me to enter hormone replacement therapy. I'm also a member of the Anti-Aging Society, so in there we get a lot of training on hormone replacement therapy. So when Steve and I met, they say, wow, we are a perfect match. We can join forces and really work helping the community. And that's what brought us together.
And I know that you're very careful about people who you do bring. I know you are.
Even the consultant that I use outside, I'm so cautious of who I work with. So I'm very happy to be working with Steve.
Yeah, I can see that because you have to be able to, he has pretty high standards. But he also recognizes he can't be everything to everybody.
Exactly.
And he's always said that. That's why you've brought on other specialists.
We're definitely on the same team.
Well, now I have a question about what Dr. Mencia just said with Alzheimer's. So have you, in your experience, found people who've had a memory decline, and through the hormone replacement, you've actually seen an increase in their memory?
Well, we definitely will see an improvement. Now, for men, it usually is the focus will increase considerably. And in ladies, the thought processes will definitely improve and they feel more stable.
Tell me what thought processes mean when you say that.
Well, it's very difficult to explain that. Some women will just say they just don't feel quite right, and they can't put their finger on it, so it's very hard for them to describe it to me, and I'm not a woman, so I can't really...
I think it's, also, Steve, is like when you are holding a conversation with somebody.
Yes.
And the person is talking to you about their day. Your significant other come home is telling you how the day was. And the receiver, in that case, if it's a woman, the receiver cannot engage in the conversation. She cannot focus on the conversation, so follow along with the conversation. So if you and I go out for dinner with Steve and we're talking about hormone replacement, you can keep the conversation and flow with the conversation. If the thought process is not there, it's like somebody come to you and talk to you about a new business, and you just cannot follow a word of what they say. They're talking to you in a foreign language. Thought process will not kick in to engage in that conversation.
Now, some people never could, but you're saying people who could, they've lost it.
That's important you say that, because hormone replacement, we see as we go with the baby boomers, we are the one, us the baby boomers, are the one that are always searching for something to keep us rejuvenated. But you can see hormone deficiency in younger person. So when you see somebody in their 30s that is having a problem in bed, cannot maintain a relationship, cannot engage in a new relationship, that person can have a hormone deficiency, and there is no need for you to wait 30 more years until you hit 50 to say, now let me go and get a check, because now you have a lot of damage from that hormone deficiency that you have been suffering for 30 years.
You have no idea how perfect this conversation is. I have a personal situation, a friend who has been telling me that she can't concentrate. Now, she's in her 50s. She said, but I haven't been able to do that.
And they think it's there.
In my 20s and 30s, I think there's something wrong with my brain. She's been telling me this. And now she's going to a neurologist. She's just going to go there and see what's going on and take tests. And she's been on depression medication. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I'll bet she's never had a hormone replacement evaluation. That could be her problem.
She probably hasn't had that done.
Let me tell you, as soon as I get back to my house, I'm going to email her and ask her to do that. Now, she lives in North Carolina, but the thing is, this is really new stuff. This is wonderful to hear this.
And for the people that live in the area, when you call in and set up your appointment with Dr. Coleman, because it's going to be a long process for him to be able to help you get where you want to be, where he thinks you should be, because he's going to get a good history from you. As you know, the staff there, they are very supportive, and everybody loves Steve at the office, so they are there to support him. And then once he have done that, then he'll do the 24-hour urine, he'll do the blood test, and whatever can be done through the insurance will run through your insurance to help you. And then he will work with your budget, and he will tell you, these are your deficiency. This is what I recommend as a specialist that you should be replacing first, and then work within your budget and say, okay, you can only do 2 out of the 5 I recommend. I would say take the 2 top hormones that you need right now, but eventually replacing all of them will definitely put you 20 years younger.
20 years younger. Let me give a phone number. You have to call Dr. Coleman at 954-489-1345. I'll repeat that again. Get your pencils out. It's Pencil Talk Radio, 954-489-1345. That's the Adult and Geriatric Medical Center. Of course, you know Dr. Andy Mencia is here every Saturday morning from 7 to 7:30. It's the wonderful world of wellness, and I hope some of you have gone there, and I hope that you are taking advantage of this you will take advantage of this new specialty we have, hormone replacement. As Dr. Mencia said, don't just go do this lightly. You do see the advertisements in the newspaper, on the internet. I don't think you should fool with that. I think you should go to a board-certified physician. You should do it under the auspices of Dr. Mencia's medical center. And we certainly are happy for you to be here. It's your first radio show. We hope we're going to get you back more after you get some of our your patients to talk about this.
Why don't we spend a few minutes on...
We don't have a few minutes.
Weight reduction.
Oh, weight reduction. Okay, we have he says 2 minutes. Okay. What about weight reduction? Is this going to do something for us? You said about that when we first started.
Well, weight problems are almost always related to the diet. The biggest problem that we see in folks who have difficulty losing weight and keeping it off is that they haven't bothered to change their thinking process. If you don't change your mind, you cannot permanently change your weight. So we have to work on several different levels with the patient. Number one is the education and the diet, but a lot of it is behavior.
Okay, behavior. We all know that. And the good thing is, that Steve now bring with him a dietitian. So it's not only Steve and I helping you lose weight, but now we have a dietitian. It's a team to help you lose weight.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need so that somebody wants to lose weight, but then you're going to motivate them. You're going to give them the tools to be able to do it, and the dietitian. And so someone can come into you. You're going to analyze what they do need to do, and then if they behave and they do what they're supposed to, I bet in 2 months they could be a new person. They have hormone replacement. They're going to lose weight, right? They're going to have a big smile on their face, and it's. I'm so glad you're with them. Well, we look forward to this, and we will probably be doing. Are we doing an article on hormone replacement for March?
Absolutely.
I think that would be a wonderful thing to do, especially for the Ireland. We're going to do an Irish
They can
issue.
call the number at the office, 954-489-1345.
Right.
Steve does lecture a lot. He's very active, so he's always moving, doing things. So please, call and set up the appointment. He will be there for you.
Yeah, by the way, if you want a good speaker, then you can, of course, always call Dr. Mencia's office, and he has so many people there who will go out and speak, and I'm sure Dr. Coleman now will do that also. So thank you very much for being with us this morning. And Dr. Mencia, that's it for us today. Sorry, I know you don't. He's grabbing the microphones. He doesn't want to give up, but we have to. We have another interview. So we'll talk to you next week, Dr. Mencia.
Have a great week.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you so much.